Hey, everybody. So there seems to be a consensus floating around out there that many of the public conversations happening are too hot. So much anger, so many accusations, constant finger pointing when there's enough blame to be shared across the spectrum. I believe people should speak their minds, have an opinion, defend their beliefs, and all of it can be done with passion. But sometimes people are all passion and not enough intellect. When emotions dominate discussions, oftentimes rational thinking is hampered. Self control exits a conversation. People stop listening to each other, and the entire conversation goes bonkers. Proverb 15:18 says, "A hot tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is patient calms a quarrel." There are people who tend to stir up conflict because they don't have the maturity to hold a tough conversation without taking comments personally. They don't have the capacity to examine all views because they're so sure they're right that they won't even entertain anything different or new. They're short sighted and they're closed off. They remain in their ignorance because they trust only their own opinions, no matter how shallow, or those of people who think like them. I've seen this play out in this very volatile political climate we're in right now, but it also happens in workplaces when decisions have to be made and goals have to be met. It happens in social settings with family and friends. There are people who are quarrelsome and they snap and argue at every turn. If they're wrong, they won't admit it. They let their pride get in the way, so they will deflect because it's embarrassing somehow to admit that they made a mistake in their judgment. They will double down on their error. And if the person they are at odds with is wrong, they have to prove it, even long after the argument is over. They won't let it go because they have to be right. But this proverb says patient people will calm the quarrels. They will help lower the temperature, not throw gasoline on infernos. Leaders at every level need to be good at this. When teams are at odds across the organization and silos form, when coworkers are fueling gossip against each other because they're looking to win people over to their side, when siblings are arguing over mom's care or demented dad's finances, when politicians are riling up people by the millions, good leaders must choose to be the fire hose that douses the flames. They can't throw rocks and live in that proverbial glass house, or throw the rock and claim to be the victim. When you lead, you are the peacemaker, the advisor, the cheerleader, the sage, the coach, the teacher, and the servant. You provide hope in times of fear, inspiration in times of despair, assurances in times of crisis, and guidance in times of uncertainty. As the head goes, so do the followers. So, in whatever way you lead, keep in mind that chaos will beget chaos and hatred will beget hatred, but peace will yield peace and calm will produce calm. Blessed are those who run towards forgiveness and not vengeance. Be blessed, my friends.